Superman! Is it a flop? Is it a smash hit? It's fucking neither. And the internet can't handle it. I want to show you what's going on. So check this out, man. Variety. Oh, man, Variety. Man, I think they dropped this yesterday. Whoo! Kicking a hornet's nest here. Variety says, over the weekend, Superman added 3.1 million overseas and 8.4 million globally. At this point, even with an impressive gross of 595 million, Superman is unlikely to surpass the haul of the character's last solo outing, 2013's Man of Steel, which flew to 670 million worldwide. Now, this is, I don't know, chat. Like, do you think it's a little bit of bait? Like, if you think it's a little bit of bait or this is Variety playing the game, throw a 1 into the chat. I'm just curious. Look. I think this comparison was always coming. I think when you reboot a character, you should perform better than the version of the character that you rebooted. Okay? I think that's fair. Now, there's all sorts of context and caveats here that actually give the Superman movie, James Gunn Superman movie, a sort of pass. Okay? And I've tried to talk about that, and it's fair. It's totally fair to bring that up. It is also totally fair to say that this will haunt James Gunn for the rest of his life, unless he can stack some massive fucking wins. If he gets to the point where he can outgross BVS, outgross Aquaman, and outgross those movies, then he will have the last laugh. For now, this is objectively something that will be the bane of James Gunn's online existence until he breaks this curse. And I actually think that's fair. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Even with the caveats, even with the state of the industry, even with all of that, it is just obvious. Life is not fair. And this is an example of that. You just deserve to have a little bit of shit talking. You just deserve for people to bring this up. You deserve a little bit of shame because it's absolutely fair that the new Superman movie that's rebooting everything, it's absolutely fair to hold it to the standard of the last Superman movie that everybody claims was so crazy and so dysfunctional that it needed to be rebooted. Like, that is just fair. So, Superman not making Man of Steel numbers, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think these digital release numbers were what they wanted either. It doesn't look good. It is absolutely fair to point this out and be like, no 670. And that will happen for the rest of time. And the thing that's wild, right, is Variety's doing this. They know exactly what they're doing, which, by the way, let's do a little experiment here. Let's go to Variety's Twitter page, and let's look at how that thing performed. Is that a pinned post? Okay, let's look at all of their latest tweets here in the views. Okay, so 1K, 4K, 3K, 10K, 18K. Impressive. 6.6K, 7K, 30K, pretty impressive. 15K, pretty impressive. 16K, 7.5K, 7.5K, 7K, 6K. Where's the Man of Steel headline? Jesus, they post a lot. Holy. Well, I guess I can just go back, huh? 1.5 million. $1.5 million. Oh. Okay. So it obviously worked. And the reality is, the reason it worked is because there are, whether or not they're actually a large group of fans or a very dedicated small base of passionate fans that make 16 sock puppet accounts each, the Snyder fans have existed, will continue to exist. And Gunn did nothing, zero, nada, zilch, to try to actually bring them into the fold. He actually made this problem worse with the discourse. Okay? So this is not going away. And one way he could have shut them up was to actually outgross Man of Steel. But he couldn't do that. Okay, so I think that's fucking embarrassing. However, here's the flip. And this is what gets me all upset, right? Everybody looks at that, and all the Snyder fans look at this, and they say, failure. They say, reboot it. They say it's a flop. all of these different things, and they strip away all of the context that explains how this is actually viable, okay, with Warner Brothers. Like, in the same breath as me saying it is completely fair that this is going to haunt Gunn, he should have outdone it, and these fans are never going to shut up about it, I can also, in the very same breath, tell you Superman did exactly what it needed to do to warrant more of itself and to keep it going. And it's building towards revitalizing that brand and setting a foundation upon which much bigger projects and much bigger movies could exist. And there is potentially benefits to the brand being set in a more unified place for Warner Brothers than where it was prior to that. These are all things that absolutely matter. And I think just given the state of the industry, given the state of the comic book movies, and just in general where we are at right now with entertainment, Superman has done enough. It is doing fine. That's the way I would describe it, is like good enough. Fine. And they're going to continue it. Now, this cannot exist forever, and Superman and the DCU has to do better. Like, hear me out on this. They have to do much better. Okay, so I think Supergirl should do better than Superman. If Supergirl does worse than Superman, holy shit, that's not a good sign. Clayface is kind of like weird because the budget's so low, it could perform much lower and still technically be considered a success or whatever. But I think Lanterns, I think Peacemaker Season 2, these things need to chart. They need to make good headlines. Like, you cannot prop up a universe of DC characters at a loss forever. You can invest into something. You can take a loss up front as long as eventually it pays off. Okay? If they cannot improve it from here, it should go away. Okay? But we don't know that. There's no way to know that until we get into some of these other projects. Superman's box office, and this has actually been true since week 1, Superman's box office is so unremarkable and middle of the road that you could write whatever headline you want. You could write a headline saying it's excelling and crushing. You could write a headline saying it's super disappointing and shitty. And both of them are viable. But the truth is, both are an exaggeration. It's right in the middle of the road. And there seems to be these two camps when it comes to DC and Superman that are unwilling to just accept that it literally is middle of the road. And it's a foundation. And we're going to have to see how it does from here. And it could go very badly. It could go very well. But anybody that's telling you this is an absolute flop and a disaster, wrong. Anybody that's telling you this is a hit, wrong. No, it is not. And this headline of the discourse that was created by it, 1.5 million views. The highest views we saw on their shit was 30K. Yeah, this headline, this discourse, the reason it popped off is because that conversation is at the core of the DC brand for its time in the zeitgeist, and it will not go away. So that is what it is when it comes to Superman. Bro, oh my God. It's the most frustrating thing in the world that this movie's operating right in that middle area so that all these people that are toxic positive, they can say that, and it's not like a clear-cut indication that we could say, oh, no, you guys are fucking wrong. And then it's all these idiots over here that are saying it's a flop and it's a fucking failure and Gunn needs to go. It's like, no, the truth is actually right in the middle of that. The truth is right in the middle of that. And I know nuance is hard on the internet. And it's not something that's sexy. It doesn't get all the clicks. It doesn't get 1.5 million fucking views on Twitter, etc., etc. But that is what it is, guys. It's all right. Good enough. Fine. But it needs to do better. So anyway, what are your thoughts, chat? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts out here? Am I wrong? Is the nuanced take so bad that we should fucking rage bait or something? 10 out of 10 segment. Who knew you had it in you today? Oh, thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. I mean, it's funny because I don't think it's hard to call it like what it is. You know the reason it feels like it's such a good segment? Because everybody else is so fucking outlandishly wrong. Like, how am I the voice of reason? You know you fucked up when Josh from the Den of Nerds is the voice of reason in this conversation. But it's so obviously the case because the Gunn motherfuckers are crazy. The Snyder motherfuckers are crazy. It is so obviously the case that you just need a breath of fresh air and a nuanced take in this conversation. And we're all so fatigued of all the extreme takes on either side. Holy shit. Supergirl will make far less than Superman, even though it will be a far better movie. That is possible. That is possible. We could say the same about F4, honestly asking. I think F4 is leaning a little bit more in the disappointing, although it actually had a relatively good hold. Like for the first time since its box office, it seemed like it held better than it was expected, which is good. But yeah, I mean, it's still not looking great for Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four conversation, I mean, it kind of depends on how you look at it, right? Because they're not going to cancel Spider-Man 4. They're not going to cancel Doomsday, right? And also, this thing made $23 billion in 10 years. Obviously, Marvel has fallen off, and there's a lot of issues with Marvel, right? Fantastic Four, I thought it was a great movie. Maybe it wasn't exciting enough for the mass appeal audience, but I think the truth is, like, people are just kind of over Marvel. You know, like, I had this thing that I said over the weekend, and I'm not trying to, I don't want Marvel fans to take this the wrong way, because the reality is, man, I was cooking yesterday on some theories, and I'm very excited about Doomsday and Marvel's future, and thank God, because I was feeling really depressed last week. But here's the truth about Marvel, which is kind of uncomfortable. Marvel could take a 10-year break and not make any content. I'm talking about in movies, video games, shows, nothing. 10 years. And there would still be way too much Marvel. I didn't choose that. You didn't choose that. But I think that's what's happening. It's just too fucking much. Way too much. Marvel needs to pull it all the way back, brother. They need to go to one movie, maybe 2 movies a year. They need to do maybe 1 show a year. That's it. And that's not the Fantastic Four's fault. Fantastic Four movie is fucking incredible. If it were not for 7 red carpets a year since the pandemic, people wouldn't be so burnt on Marvel and they'd go check out Fantastic Four. So I don't know what the solution is there. It feels almost like a different problem. Here's the thing, to take it back to Superman, right? Because, you know, that's a fair question, you know, asking about Fantastic Four. Here's what I can't figure out about Superman. It's either the case that we should look at Superman's performance and feel bad for James Gunn, because the reality is Kevin Feige cooked the fucking industry to the point where even Superman can't match Man of Steel in this year of our Lord of 2025. I can't tell if we should feel bad for James Gunn or if Gunn got incredibly lucky, because there's actually not too much evidence that outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, he can actually even do big box office. It could be the case that Superman was always going to underperform, that Gunn Superman was always going to operate by this level, and now he has all these caveats, asterisks, and excuses. James could actually be being saved by the Marvel fall-off. That is actually 100% a possibility. We don't really know. Now, luckily for us, it kind of doesn't matter, because now we have our benchmark, we have where it's at, and it needs to do better, period. The movies need to do better. They need to be more profitable. They need to make more box office. They just need to do better. So if they don't do better, we just compare it to this and say, hey, you didn't do better, get fucked. But this movie is hard to figure out because of the state of the industry, and there's a part of me that thinks I feel bad for Gunn, and that Feige actually hurt Gunn's Superman movie. And then the other part of me thinks, nah, Gunn was always going to perform mid. Now he has all these asterisks and excuses thanks to Kevin Feige. I can't figure it out, actually. But again, it kind of doesn't matter, because the next one just needs to do better. Like, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.